Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 711, written by the Landlocked Mermaid, 88. They were going to buy us dragons. We were with our boyfriends. We were happy. They were going to buy us dragons. My sister and I were in our late 20s, white girls, and our boyfriends white boys of the same age. Angie, her boyfriend, RT, myself and boyfriend JC. For many years we would get together every weekend. I have a son who would come, but none of us could remember him there this particular weekend. It was snowing a lot. I remember just getting nestled in with Angie. The guys were heading out on their usual shopping trip. They did this every weekend, scouting out the dollar stores to buy us dragon figurines. Then all of a sudden, the loudest thunder I'd ever heard. Our boyfriends came running back in, having not yet made it to their car. The four of us had a brief discussion, all agreeing that thundersnow had happened. Although we all freaked out, we tried to put it out of our minds. Then they left. Angie and I continued with the same life. A much different, very messed up life. A couple of years later, Angie and RT got new friends. Angie and I always kept in touch though. There was a strain, a pause in our relationship for too many years. Our boyfriends ultimately betrayed both of us over the years. There are a lot of ways you can betray someone. After RT betrayed Angie, she kind of went into hiding. 20 plus years later, I was bringing over a pizza. I must say, pizza has a way of making things better. Her new boyfriend, Sid, answered the door. I basically held the pizza captive until she came out. It definitely renewed our bond. Angie and I most definitely agree that after the thundersnow event, our lives got much harder. That those guys who came back were not our boyfriends. Glitches, alternate reality timelines, we just did not consider these as possibilities at the time. But looking back, we were with our boyfriends. We were so very happy. They were going to buy us dragons. Case notes for file 711. They were going to buy us dragons. So I've never experienced thundersnow myself, but it sounds fascinating. I have seen lightning in the great distance during just driving at night with my family. This was so long ago, maybe 20 years ago. My uncle was visiting from the US and I was still in Canada with my mom. Anyways, just in the great distance you'd see lightning and it was snowing outside, which I thought was weird, but never heard any thunder. I actually did a bit of digging around, just Googling what this was about, and there's a news anchor that reacted to this and I found it fascinating, his expression of pure awe, like never seeing this before. He was just reporting live, like a weather anchor I guess. And this thundersnow event occurred, and it really is fascinating. It seems out of place, is the best way to put it. Now, as far as this event actually triggering some sort of universal crossover, I guess it's not inconceivable. We don't know exactly what triggers it. We know that death seems to transpose consciousnesses, so you'll die and go to a different universe. But did that happen here? There was thundersnow, so previously there was lightning, it hit you, and you're in another universe? But then, what about your friend? Now, maybe you're just assigning this event as some sort of mystical thing when it was just an interesting event that happened, very rare, and you're assigning it more importance than it actually plays. I don't know. There's also another angle to this where lightning does create very strong EM fields for a very short amount of time. But even before or after, there's a charge in the atmosphere that you can feel. And I wonder if this charge has an effect on people's mindset, if you're around lightning all the time. There's actually a lake in Venezuela, Lake Maracaibo, where lightning is striking 300 times a night every single night and they don't know exactly what causes it. It's perpetual lightning, and I do wonder how much of an effect this has on people. It must have some effect. Bonus file, written by Daedaluswaxwings. I have a little ghost girl in my house. I bought my first house 9 months ago. It's a huge accomplishment for me. In the evening after I closed on the house, I had a little champagne toast in a new place. I invited my boyfriend, my sister, we'll call her Jay, her 4-year-old daughter, we'll call her M, my best friend, Aunt T, and my son and brother, who live with me. It only lasted an hour or two. I gave everyone the tour. My best friend and Jay wanted to stop in every room and talk about my plans for it. I ordered pizza. We had a champagne toast. My niece, M, had a great time running through the house. She and my sister have a 700 square foot apartment, so my place seemed huge to her. M loved my room. I have a closet in my room with a built-in pedestal kind of thing, so we sat her on it and joked that it could be her room. All in all, it was a good time. Everyone who didn't live there headed out around the same time, starting with J and M. It was a school night. Not even 5 minutes after J and M left, my sister calls me, still driving home. My sister sounded shaken, and I was worried for a second that her car broke down or she got into an accident, but no. Jay says she asked M if she had a good time and if she liked Aunt Daedaluswaxwings' new place. M says, "Yeah, I had fun with Aunt Daedalus, Aunt T, and the little girl." My sister said she actually pumped the brakes on the car because her instinct was to stop the car in its tracks. There were no other children in the house that night, just M. Jay is trying not to scare M, but she wants to know more, so she gently asks, "Oh, what little girl?" M says, "The one that was standing behind Aunt Daedalus all night." My sister presses her a little more and asks M what the little girl looks like. M says she has long black hair and she had on a pretty blue dress. My sister asked if the little girl spoke to her. M says no. She was shy, but she had fun chasing each other throughout the house, and the little girl was sitting in her house, aka my closet, when we opened the door. M hesitated to walk into the closet at first, and I didn't know why. Now I know why. Apparently, I have a little ghost girl in my house. She likes my closet and me. My house was built in the 1900s, so it has a long history, but I haven't really looked into it yet. I have not seen or heard a thing in this house since I moved in, but did not sleep well for the first few nights after hearing this. Case file number 712, written by R32 fan, of a mighty pen and an album. A few days ago, I was studying Japanese and I dropped my pen. No big deal, it happens. I go to pick it up and I realize it isn't around me. I definitely heard it hit the carpet, so it should have been around the bottom of my desk or under the chair. I look around my room and I can't see it anywhere. I get up and walk into the next room to grab another pen, but the pen I dropped is lying on the floor there, in that room. This room is across the hall, around 4 to 5 meters away from my room. It shouldn't have been there at all. I know it was the same pen because I only have one pen that's shaped like a JNR C62 steam locomotive. Also, another thing happened to me yesterday. I had just finished listening to a Judas Priest album on vinyl and was putting it away. I placed it in front of the Diamond Head album and went through into the album repository, as I like to call it. It's literally just a library full of albums, and pick out The Great Radio Controversy, an album by Tesla. I walk back to the record player, put the Tesla album on, and go back to my sofa. I sit down and look towards the record player and notice that against the cabinet where I put the Judas Priest album, there is now a Diamond Head's Borrowed Time rather than said Judas Priest album. I looked through all of the albums that were there, but I couldn't find it. The only albums that were the ones that were there before, the Diamond Head, Cannibal Corpse, and Sepultura. I don't listen to that heavy stuff. I just had a few friends around a few days earlier and they're into that stuff. The Judas Priest album showed up in the most stupid place, in between the Gary Moore albums. I definitely didn't put it there, meaning there is no other explanation other than teleportation or some kind of poltergeist. Case notes for file 712, The Mighty Pen and the album. Strike it up for another solid DOP event. But this one's a bit interesting with the carpet, because when you think about it, when you're dropping an object, sometimes it'll bounce. It'll hit at just an angle where the physics play into it to propel the object way further than you think possible. And so that's what a lot of people will think when they hear about disappearing object phenomena, especially when it's a dropped object. Well, it just bounced somewhere and you can't find it. It went under the dresser or the bed or in some place you're just not seeing, maybe playing on the angles of objects. But if it's carpet, well, it's not going to bounce very far no matter what. And in this case, it's through another room, and you only have one pen that looks very unique. So, yeah. And then there's the album. Well, whatever it is, maybe it is a poltergeist, that's conceivable. Or it's just the cross-dimensional entities, and maybe they just didn't like Judas Priest, so they returned it expediently.